Alright, folks. What do you think? Titus thinks he's going to disappear. He told the party as much. Yuna looks devastated. Like, she had this look on her face that screamed that she knew this could happen, but she'd basically been refusing to face it, hoping she was wrong. She didn't have direct evidence like Titus had. Just she'd been putting the pieces together. And I don't know. You think there's going to be a miracle? You think they're going to pull something out at the last minute? You think that they're going to get out of this and they're going to live happily ever after? Or is Titus has... I don't know how long this video is going to be, but you can look at that counter and see how many minutes Titus has left. Which is it going to be? Happy ending? Sad ending? Let's find out together. Yevon's been destroyed, which means that sin will be destroyed forever. The, well... Why should I tell you anymore? Let's watch. It's a very white night. Oh, white nights. Hey you, hey me. Hey, the Aurochs managed to get back to Besaid. That's nice, because they spend the entire game after that tournament in that locker room at Luca. I could have gone to visit them at any time. Maybe, just maybe, once you win the first part of the battle with Sin, they pop back up, but Besaid, I don't think so. See, two of the Chocobo Knights in the background there. Well, the only two now that Klasko's gone. And, as you've probably gathered, Gata or Luzu, whichever one manage to survive, they will be hanging around in this scene. And they will not be hanging around in Final Fantasy X2. Both characters are ignored, forgotten, don't even show up in the little character directory, if I recall correctly. So that's our last chance to see Gata. And his crotch. There's Lucille and Emma, or whatever their names were. And, oh, Macon gets a little cameo appearance in the ending. I liked Macon. Anonymous Priest. And the Hymn of the Faith, which I came to really enjoy by the end of the game. So here we are, the Holy Chamber of the Faith in the Temple of Yevon Besaid, where the Aeon Balefowr's faith is located. But there's mystical stuff happening. Is it turning into a spaceship Harry Watto boss? No. It's turning into stone, an empty statue, like the statue at the Temple at Zanarkand. We see what is, I think, the statue for Ifrit. Not sure. Might be Shiva. Whatever it is, what we're seeing is the faith, which are living statues that contain a spirit and a soul. Not both, it's the same. And there's, I think that's, actually Bahamut. But they're turning into stone because the spirits that had inhabited these statues are now passing off into the far plane or the next world, or whatever you want to say. There's the little hoodie boy. His statue is already faded, and now he too will fade, with his final words being, Titus is a crybaby. Used to make a lot of jokes on an old website I wrote for. Anytime a character on screen kind of disappears from the story and is forgotten about, the camera focuses in on someone else, I would always say that they faded to the far plane. Okay, well, Dreams Anarchand is back after we went to a weird, colorful void to deal with the Aeons. Yuna's doing a little dance. I guess she's sending Yevon, sending the Aeons. Titus is like, man, I gotta check her out while I can. Whoa. I must have let one.
Don't stop.
Don't stop.
But
To the top. Do.
It's all right.
my rockin' theme music will see us through. Hey, Waka. Good job getting over that racism. Hey, Kamari. You rock, daddy. Lulu. Didn't really talk to you very much. Riku. Ugh. Hate those romance fanfics about us. And... what are you pissed off at me for? Yeah, whatever, kid.
It's been long enough.
Yeah, he's like over 20. That's ancient for a Final Fantasy character. He just kind of shoves Yuna off to the side at the end there, too. Oh, I gotta shut up. Auron's my favorite character. And he's about to take off.
This is your world now.
What an exit line. He's so badass, he can even time it so that he fades into fireflies completely right after delivering his awesome exit line. Second best exit line in Final Fantasy. Only edged out by Delita. And even Delita's exit line gets translated differently in different versions. Ramza, what did you get? So, Auron. Excellent exit. Sadly, Auron's exit had to be rushed and gotten out of the way so that we could concentrate on, well, he's not as cool. He is the main character of the game. It's time to figure out what's going to happen with Titus. Before we get there, we got a lot of Yuna's shoulders and dancing, and Sin exploded into fireflies. Shit, they were in Sin! They were living in Sin. I always thought that shot, as cool as it would be a little cooler if there were fiends that looked up to the sky and noticed that. I don't know. Like a little iguana guy seeing that. Because they get killed by Sin too, presumably. Didn't Sin already get destroyed? Let's see, Bahamut, and they're all flying around, disappearing. And there's Yuna's underarms. And Sin's fin getting destroyed again. This is a really beautiful sequence. I'm noticing logical flaws in it I hadn't spotted before. And they all ended up on the airship, which is convenient, because otherwise they would have all fallen to their deaths. This is that faith cluster thing that we passed. We made the party. And now, so these are the individual people of Zanarkand who were saved as faith. Here's the faith magical watery thing turning into bubbles that are people, and dude, I'm radiated. Just dance, Yuna. Don't worry about me.
Yuna, I have to go.
It's Mexican night at my favorite restaurant.
I'm sorry I couldn't show you Xanarkand.
I got to see Zanarkand. We fought your dad there? Shut up, Waka. You don't get to talk.
Goodbye.
Hey! We're gonna see you again!
Dot question mark. Lulu, you want a line? Kamari? Maybe?
Yuna!
Oh! Am I that transparent? That's a tough way to break up with your girlfriend, having her do a header into the concrete airship. Well, it's not concrete. Oh, fireflies are like reverse tears. Oh, poor Titus. This really does suck. We're gonna drag you out of the dream world, give you a real life, an adventure, with a super hot girlfriend, really cool, magical spells and stuff, but, oh yeah, you pretty much shot at the end. And now, final shot of Yuna's butt before she gets up and says,
I love you.
"You couldn't have told me that before. I didn't have to come up with a plan to destroy you, Yevon. We could have just gone off somewhere." A little late. Oh well. Let's recreate the scene from Ghost. A little phantom spooning here. Let me rest my undead arms on your boobies. Oh, this really is a sweet little moment. And then... oh, little phantom penetration there. Farewell, Yuna. Thanks for allowing me backdoor access. Bye, I'm Riku, I'm retarded. I'm taking over the scene. He decides rather than dying in front of them, he will jump through magical clouds like, who's that guy? Get away from me, Auron. My dad! Oh crap, I hate my dad. So he's apparently ascended to hell because he gets to hang out with two guys he desperately doesn't like, and Braska, who I can only assume would get really, you know, sanctimonious after a while. Then, because you've got some heartstrings left that she hasn't pulled, Yuna starts whistling at the ocean in the hopes that he'll come. Come on, Yuna. I'm dying here.
Yuna, it's time.
The s'mores are finally ready. If only Titus had lived to see this wonderful day. S'mores in the Colosseum. Rocco was hoping for whores in the Colosseum. Man, my really weak voice is going to have a hard time being heard by all these people.
Everyone has lost something
But
precious.
apparently she has an invisible microphone.
Everyone here has lost homes, dreams, and friends.
Everyone has lost the precious.
Everybody? Now, Sin is finally dead.
We've lost our great friend, our dream,
Now.
Sin.
Spira is ours again.
Specifically mine. The rest of you guys are just allowing you to stay
Working
here.
together. Now we can make new homes for ourselves. And new dreams.
She's campaigning on hope and change.
Although I know the journey will be
I
hard.
haven't had a line in so long. Me
We have
neither,
lots
yeah.
of time.
I guess I got to kind of mumble something. Yeah, baby.
Together,
Silence
we
is
will rebuild
better than
Spira.
talking anyway. Hi, folks. I'm gonna take over the second game. Just you watch.
The road is ahead of us. So let's start out today.
Well, the road will still be ahead of us tomorrow, or next week. Is that good, guys? Yeah, just keep talking. Don't expect anything out of us. This is my game. Okay.
Just one more thing.
I'd like to announce my candidacy for Dictator Spira.
The people and the friends that we have lost. No dreams that have
Her
faded.
dream of her friends and Seymour. Alright, well, Titus showed up at the end, but I think Yuna's secretly dreaming about making out with Seymour. I think that's what I got out of that.
Never forget them.
I'll always remember you, Seymour. It's time for singing in Japanese. Had I been thinking, I'd have prepared clever lyrics in the meter of the song. Instead, I'm forced to wing it. Got to extemporaneous now. At least I can carry a tune. At least one subscriber told me I can. He knows what he can go do to himself. It is a nice game with the sweet ending that I did my best to ruin. And now I feel just a little bit guilty. but not too much because of Riku. Riku alone makes this whole franchise deserve derision and piles of scorn. I don't mind Riku as much as I expected to, actually. I remembered really disliking Riku. I'm thinking probably a lot of that is my memories of X-2, where she plays a much bigger role. And as I mentioned, during the endless videos wandering around the desert trying to get her super weapon, it's way too much the plot for a character like Riku to carry in X-2. But anyway, sweeping music, and I thought a pretty majestic story. In my LPing of the game, where I was trying to explain things constantly, probably even more than you guys needed, I came across a lot of little flaws that I had never picked up on before. You start poking at the details of any sci-fi or fantasy story, you're always going to start finding problems. It's inevitable, even the best written of these stories, unless it's a really, really hard science story. Even then, like, engineers will start going after problems they have with the Ringworld books. The song's going, but I think you've had enough of me trying to sing. But yeah, there's a lot of little things in this game, like, you know, how did Jecht get to Spira in the first place? Because that seems to be what set the whole story in motion, really. It's just a massive coincidence that Jecht, the guy from this dream world, is the one who comes up with a plan to defeat Yu Yevon. Or is it not a coincidence at all? Is he's the first guy in 1,000 years to come from his experience as a world that doesn't have this monster as an inevitability, so he's the one who sort of thinks outside the box about how to deal with it. But you get into little stuff like, how do they friggin' die? Too bad Rip Taylor didn't do the voice of Titus, that would have been awesome. But yeah, how do they actually die when they summon the final Aeon? We are led to believe... Personally, I thought it was pretty obvious that the summoner dies fairly early in the game, probably somewhere on the Mihen High Road when Yuna's just being really depressed and looking at a sunset and just kind of, you know, being Yuna. I kind of put together that, okay, she ain't coming back from this trip, and everyone seems to know it except Titus. But, yeah, why exactly does she die? Riku implies at one point that the final Aeon will kill Sin and the summoner. My whole theory for most of the game, the first time through, was I assumed that you have to give up your life to gather enough magical energy to summon an Aeon that will defeat Sin. In the end, it really turns out that neither of those answers make sense, because Seymour obtains the final Aeon, and then he chooses not to summon it, so he gets to wander around being a villain. And I read something in the Final Fantasy Wiki, while waiting for a video to process, that explained a little bit more about Seymour. Apparently, he and his mother are banished to that temple where you get anima later. That horrible island where Titus was trapped by himself at the beginning of the game and then the Albed rescued him. They're banished there because the Guado don't like them, and, you know, because she's human and she married a Guado. And for some reason, Jiskel's allowed to continue to lead the Guado, but the mother and the son are both banished. And that really starts to explain Seymour a bit better. And how Seymour goes back, after obtaining anima, he goes back and lives by himself on that island until he becomes a teen and is called back, kills Jiskel, takes over as the head of the Guado. The thing is, I have no idea where that information came from. It makes sense. It feels official. It's in the wiki. It might have come from a Japanese-only side book story thing. I don't know. All fans of Final Fantasy, we thank you too. That was my favorite Final Fantasy game. And call me a big puss if you want, but I think if this song segued into the Final Fantasy theme, like, you know, you got at the end of Final Fantasy II USA, it suddenly goes into the Final Fantasy theme, a more modern, for that period, version of the Final Fantasy theme from Final Fantasy. If they did that again here, I think I'd be all tearing up, but they didn't. Instead, we've got water sounds, and we've got Titus in the fetal position.
Titus, 1 minute. 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 1
It's like, nothing like a nice nap underwater. Good thing I don't need oxygen from the air. So he's in a sea, he swims to the surface. And... okay. That always makes me wonder if they were planning a sequel all along. Some kind of sequel where Titus somehow has an adventure on another world or something. And as far as I am aware, they weren't planning a sequel. Final Fantasy X2... Now, I've read that when they planned Final Fantasy X2, they planned on doing 2 spin-off games, one about Yuna and one about Riku from the beginning. And then the spin-off game about Yuna, which came out first, was not as big a success as Final Fantasy X had been, so they scrapped the plans for doing the game about Riku. But this game was a big enough success for them that they decided to do spin-off games and follow-ups in the same world, which they'd never done before. And kind of weird, because they did a spin-off game of Final Fantasy X, like Final Fantasy 13, which I don't know how it did commercially in America and Japan, but everyone I talked to, which I hated 13, which I assume means that kind of in the aggregate, more or less fans of the genre didn't like the game. That's the impression I got. But they went ahead and did a sequel about Lightning's little sister, which I have yet to play. I'll probably play it eventually. Anyway, so that's the end of my favorite Final Fantasy game. Probably my favorite RPG. I just really like the story. I really like the characters. I made a lot of jokes and making fun of it all. Here's the Yu Yevon symbol, then the end, then Jecht's chest hair pattern, which I think is actually the logo of the Sanarkand Abes, and underneath that, I have no idea what that symbol is. And yeah, some waves and stuff. But yeah, that's my favorite Final Fantasy game, my favorite RPGs. Yuna's one of my favorite female characters in any of these kinds of adventure games, just because she seemed reasonably bright, and she wasn't... I mean, she's kind of... I think she is supposed to be like nerd bait. She's supposed to be hot, but they didn't make her hot in the, like, ridiculous skin-tight leather clothing kind of, you know... what's her name? Ruby Malone from Wet Ways. Man, I do like Ruby Malone from Wet actually a lot, but no, I mean, Yuna's kind of cute and sweet, and she's actually reasonably intelligent, but the most important thing is that she has her own, like, story and motivation that's completely independent of the main character. She just doesn't show up to be his girlfriend. She's actually got her own story that's going on. The second game, it doesn't really have much of a story at all, but who cares? Titus is... I don't find him anywhere near as annoying as a lot of people do. Titus is one of the most universally hated on characters. And I do mean hated on. I don't think people really hate Titus. They just like to get on forums about these games and bash Titus. He didn't bother me that much, but it might have been just, like, affection I had for other characters washing over onto Titus. I love Wakka. Wakka's great. I wish Wakka and Lulu continued to be important later in the game than they were. I remember really liking Auron. I think when I'm LPing the game and cracking jokes and making fun, I start to notice just how completely ridiculous Auron is about never giving anyone any information about anything. Going, anytime Titus asks him any question, I mean, he really comes across as a colossal douche, but he's still a really cool character. I loved Kimahri even before I LP'd the game and made him Wolfman Jack, because of course I never thought of Kimahri as Wolfman Jack previous to this LP. And my least favorite character is Riku. Riku's actually a fairly likable character, you know. She's positive and comic relief. She's not horrible. Most of the time, the comic relief that involves Riku is kind of funny. Game is just very well translated. I mean, I think they probably played pretty fast and loose with the script. They weren't super literal with translating it from Japanese, which meant that maybe now other people are looking at this and being like, are you crazy? Did you even see that scene with the fake laughter in Luca? But to me, like, most of the dialogue is actually pretty natural. That's a rare thing in one of these games. Dialogue from games, JRPGs, translated in English, usually incredibly stilted. Like, I just remember being blown away at how awkward all the conversations sounded to me in Lost Odyssey. But, I don't know. Maybe things about this game just clicked for me and I'm overlooking other flaws, but I just really like this game a lot. will eventually LP Final Fantasy X-2. I think I need to get away from Spira for a while and do something else first. By all means, throw out your comments. There's a good chance I'll have started on something by the time this gets posted, but it's always good to get people's comments on what they'd like to see. Let me know what you liked about the LP. I can't imagine there's that many people still around who hated it, but let me know if there was anything about it that really bugged you. I guess. But leave at least 2 positive comments before you leave a negative comment, or I'll just sulk. Sorry, that's not true, but yeah. Yeah, so anyway, we'll do Final Fantasy X-2. It's an interesting game. It's as unlike this game in tone as you can get. It is a game of pure bubblegum happiness. Whereas this game, there's this sense of doom over the entire game. There's like positive, happy character moments, but the entire world is a really sad place. And then at the end, the world becomes a happy place as Titus dies, and Yuna basically has to carry that weight. I just thought it was really interesting, which is why it's strange that Final Fantasy X-2 is, in large part, a huge collection of goofy, silly mini-games that are meant to, you know, attract to younger gamers and girls. It's true. It's true. While simultaneously having a much better and more engaging combat engine. It's bizarre. The biggest flaw this game has is that the combat engine, you could literally just sit there forever thinking about what you want to do with your turn. There is no sense of you having to get involved in making decisions quickly at all. Completely absent. Otherwise, I love this game to death. So I hope nobody's too offended. I hope that some of you will now understand the references I make in other games, like the weird tangent I went off on during Black Belt Demon story mode in Rumble Roses, where I was like, you know, thinking, what would it be like if Black Belt Demon rather than Yuna had been at the end of the game? And it would be like, Titus, wow, so you're gonna die, huh? Jeez, you're gonna fade away with the Aeons when we defeat you, Yevon. Wow, that sucks for you, man. I hope it doesn't hurt too bad. Anyway, you know, I'll always remember you, but I'm gonna start seeing other people too, so, you know, don't have any illusions about that. Anyway, later. I'm super hot and the world owes me an incredible debt. I'm gonna have a sweet life from this point on, but I'll always remember you. Well, always. Might be stretching it. Anyway, take it easy, man. You were a good guy. Never forget that. Yeah, that kind of joke. And of course the joke that I made way back when on the website I used to write for that was about pro wrestling, where there was a pro wrestler whose catchphrase at the time was, "I'm not telling you anything you don't already know." And I had envisioned the situation in which he had taken the place of Titus. So as Yuna has just run through Sean O'Hare, the wrestler, and has gone through him and collapsed, and because he's no longer substantial, she went right through him. And she stands up, she gazes off sadly into the distance, she can't even face him as she whispers, "I love you." And he says, "Hey, you're not telling me anything I don't already know." Good stuff. Alright, now I've embarrassed myself by talking about goofy stuff that has nothing to do with anything. Again, I'll do Final Fantasy X-2 eventually. Don't think I'm doing it next, but stick around. I'm sure that I'll do something that, if you enjoyed this game, I'm sure I'll do something else you'll enjoy eventually. In the meantime, write, comment, subscribe, blah 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 blah. And I'll see you guys around. Thank you very much for joining me for this, which was, as I've completely forgotten up until just now, my 1,000 subscriber special, my favorite RPG ever, and I hope that you guys will consider it a fun and enjoyable LP. And I'll have more fun and enjoyable LPs in the future. A future which is brighter because it will not have sin or Titus. This is Mysterious JG. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you some other LP some other time. Bye bye, folks, and remember, I love you.